Alrighty, it is October 2nd, 2020, almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Alrighty, this is going to be my first recorded with video podcast. I am recording it through video and through my phone at the same time so I can spread this a little further than what I have been doing. The app I've been using is called Anchor, and I literally just been able to post just on Spotify and other audio places. But it's been requested of me to start recording these podcasts because the audience I do have, are kind of want to see it on video. So this is my first attempt to see if this goes well and see if I keep doing it. So all right. This series is the second part of a series I started last week called Down the Rabbit Hole, which is where I literally just start diving into a lot of subjects that are not brought up on TV. They're not brought up in the news. I mean, and this election cycle's been crazy, and there's so many things to talk about that it's kind of hard to like focus in on one thing. Like literally, the news changes day by day by day. Literally, all anybody's been talking about the past couple of days has been a debate, and before that, it was a Supreme Court justice pick, and before that, it was something else. I already forgot. It's just there's so much stuff going on. But as of midnight last night, President Trump tweeted that he just tested positive for COVID, him and the First Lady, and that he's going to be going into quarantine with her. And now that's been the news of the day, and that's all the news media is talking about right now. So as you can see, it's really hard to keep up with everything going on right now, and it's crazy. This whole year's been like that. It's been breaking news to breaking news to breaking news, just consistently back to back. Since January, we've had some crazy big headline. At the beginning of the year, it was the death of Kobe Bryant, and then it was the fires in Australia, and then the months went on, and it became the lockdowns, and it became the protests. I've already stated on this channel that I believe this whole year is it's not an accident. That all of this happening right now is not an accident. And so in the last episode, I kind of just threw out there a lot of things that I've researched and tried to pull together to make a cohesive episode about these subjects. And I just went back and re-listened to it yesterday, and I definitely was all over the place. But the theme of that episode was to just bring to light that there's this kind of almost like shadow war underneath and behind what's going on TV and stuff, even including stuff with the president. There's stuff that is being said on live TV, but people are not picking up what the real meaning is behind it. And literally right before Trump went into quarantine and tweeted about him having COVID-19, he was at a rally. So after the debate, but before the quarantine, he straight up said to a crowd full of people, talking about James Comey, President Obama, Hillary, talking about all the evidence that has come out against these people and how they spied on his campaign, how pretty much there wasn't a peaceful transfer of power last election cycle, and that the incoming president, was targeted by the current president at the time, Obama, and his administration. And now over the last 4 years, the media has just been completely distracting the entire public with this fake Russian collusion story, with the Stormy Daniels story. They've just been gaslighting the public for 4 years straight, and now it's coming to a crescendo to where all this other evidence that pretty much puts all the blame they've been putting on Trump, it turns around and puts it on the people screaming. It's called projection. It's called when you're doing something wrong, you project and try to push the attention of that onto someone else. Like a little kid, you catch them breaking into the cookie jar, and you call them out on it. They're like, "Oh well, it wasn't me. It was the older sister or somebody let me do it, or I didn't even know the cookie jar was there until someone else told me, or whatever." Like they push the blame onto someone else. All right, and this is a tactic that's been used for 4 years straight, apparently, against the president. And it's crazy because it's been working. It's been working because it's working because you have so many people that hate President Trump. And in this episode, I kind of want to get into a theme called taking the red pill or red pilling. If you never heard that term before, that is literally a term to kind of, it's being used in circles referencing an awakening of sorts. And I'll just go through the kind of background where that term came from and how it applies to this. So with the term red pilling, that essentially means that if you've seen the movie The Matrix, the first one, the original, before Neo or Keanu Reeves' character finds out about the Matrix, he's living in the Matrix, and he's living this weird kind of life where he's got a normal day-to-day job in an office that he seems to hate, and he has like this alter ego outside of that where he's like a hacker. That's how the movie begins, and he's on a search for a guy named Morpheus, and to Neo, to this character, Morpheus is a prophet of sorts, and he's been, I guess his whole life has been convinced that there's something else out there. He doesn't know what it is. He can't put his finger on it, but he knows there's something out there. And in the first, I don't know, half hour of the movie, you come to find out that he is being watched, he is being tracked, and that he's been lied to his entire life. And that scene where he finally meets Morpheus for the first time and they're in that room, and Morpheus gives him a choice. He's like, you have a choice. You either take the blue pill or you take the red pill. The blue pill is you wake up in your bed in the morning like nothing happened, and you continue to live this sort of lie you've been living your whole life, but you just accept the lie and you go along with it, and you just live the rest of your days like a normal person. Or you could take the red pill, and then he literally quotes this in the movie, you could see how far the rabbit hole goes, all right, which is kind of why I picked that phrase for this series, because it's the same thing. What they're referencing in that scene is literally what a awakening is. In the movie, he was complicit to the Matrix. He was part of the programming. He was part of it. But when he took the red pill and they pulled him out of the Matrix, it was like a horror show. Like I remember seeing that movie when I was like, I didn't see it in the movies, but I was young when it came out. I was born in the early 90s, so like it went to tape, Blockbuster or whatever, like the year 2000. So I was like 9, maybe 10 when I first seen it. So I still remember it. I was old enough to like finally like watch a whole movie from beginning to end. And I remember when I saw that scene, that was scary. Like this guy was living a totally normal life. He had no idea he was getting mixed up in. And then he wakes up in a tube. Looking around, he just sees that like he was a slave his entire life, and he looks around, everybody else is slaves, and the people or the entities that are in charge of this slavery are not even human. They're robots. And he's just been used as just like a battery his whole life. He's just been used to just be part of the system, and that's what the Matrix is. That was the awakening, was realizing that he's part of the Matrix. And then the whole movie goes from there, and it turns into a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Kung Fu movie after that. But that's the meat of what this series is about, is realizing that we're kind of living in the Matrix right now. Not literally. I'm not saying we're all plugged into a machine and that we're batteries and that all this is just a computer program. But the fact that we are living inside an artificial reality, that's what I want to talk about. When I mean artificial reality, I mean there are people walking around with this idea in their head that they understand how reality works. They understand the ups and downs. They know who their president is. They know what their government officials are doing. They have this idea in their head that they think they know what's going on. Just like people in the Matrix assume that they were really in New York City. They really were driving a car. They really were there and not in some tube in the future being hooked up, like they are so blind to the fact that they're part of the system. That is literally describing humanity right now. That is literally going on right now, where people are just convinced they understand what's really going on. And it's through the media, it's through movies, it's through the news, it's through music, it's through pulp culture that humanity is essentially brainwashed into thinking all kinds of outlandish things like right now, the big lie is COVID. And I know this is a touchy subject, but when it comes to COVID, I've already brought it up numerous times on my podcast where I believe it's a scam. I honestly believe it's a scam. I'm not saying the virus isn't real, but when you look at the numbers, like they don't justify lockdowns. They don't justify all these crazy measures, mask mandates. It's all the health experts that have been giving us all this advice have contradicted themselves every step of the way. First it was mask, then it was no mask. Then it was social distancing. This is all you need. Oh no, we need to put up partitions too. All right. Oh no, when the summer comes, it'll die out. Oh no, we need to keep everybody locked out during the summer. It's like they're the point of all of this hysteria has nothing to do with your public health. All right. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but back in March when they first shut down everything, it was about flattening the curve. They kept repeating that, flattening the curve, flattening the curve, flattening the curve. They kept saying it over and over and over, and I did it on purpose because that is literally like a trick that the media uses to program people's heads. If you're not paying attention, you're not listening to what's like the substance and the context in which they say things. You only hear the one-liners, you only read the headlines. You keep hearing flatten the curve, but like no one stopped to really think what the hell does that even mean, flatten the curve. All right, people assume flatten the curve meant, all right, let's keep deaths down and try to make sure this virus goes away completely. No, flatten the curve meant prolonging the infection rate, prolonging. If you look at a graph, that stupid little graph that came out where like there was a really large spike they were projecting of like 2 million people dying. That's what that large spike was. And then flattening the curve essentially meant instead of letting the viruses go all the way up here and then come back down, we're going to prevent it and slow down the spread so it's this nice little flat shaped curve. All right. And people that either are not good at math or don't have critical thinking skills or didn't care to actually stop and think about it, look at that graph again and that little flattened curve. Does that mean less people are going to get infected? No. Flatten the curve literally means it's just going to take longer for the same amount of people to get infected. Like that's, you don't got to be a scientist to figure that out. You don't. All right. There's this really nasty habit of people hearing things on the news and then essentially assuming that the people on the news are intelligent and they're truthful. They're not. They're not. They're liars. They lie all the time. That is their job. There are more and more reporters coming out from maybe not the big news companies, but like some from Europe, some from other countries. They've been coming forward in droves and saying, I'm a professional liar. I haven't been lying my whole career. That has literally been my job. It's, of course, the news ain't going to show you that. That's going to out them. So you have to find this info. All right. And if you want to look at the news media as anything, you got to look at them as like a funnel of information. They pick and choose what they let the public know. And one of the things they've been picking and choosing is literally funneling all of their coverage over to the president. Like everything he does, every tweet, every gesture, every comment, every non-comment. Like it's been said that Donald Trump is the most vetted president in history because they literally looked at every nook and cranny of his businesses, of his personality, of past statements. And it's like they don't have anything on him. All right. His tax returns were just released. I don't know, like a week ago, right before the debate, coincidentally. Like, no one's suspicious of that. Like, how the hell did they even get his tax returns? They're not asking that. That's illegal to be leaking anyone's tax returns. That's a felony. But we live in a time now where no one's asking that question, the obvious question, how are they released? People don't care. They want that confirmation bias. They want to believe that he's an evil dictator asshole so they can, feel justified when some bad news comes out about him. But even when you look at his tax returns, the only thing that he's been guilty of is avoiding taxes, not evading. Like I've already said this in a previous episode, there's two different things. Avoiding taxes is following all the legal precedent, all the tax codes that are legal to minimize your tax footprint. Where tax evasion, which is what Wesley Snipes did, is where you have no out of the tax and legally you are obligated to pay it, but you decide not to pay it anyways. All right. These are the little things that if news organizations were fair and they're real journalists, they would point these things out. They don't because they're not real journalists. They are fake news. They are a propaganda machine. They really are. And some people have a really hard time accepting that. Like I think one of the biggest, you can call kind of complaints of people that are anti-Trumpers when they're referencing Trump supporters is they're like, wow, your guys is out for everything is the news is fake. You can't say that about everything. Well, if it's fake, it's fake. If it's not true, it's not true. I'm sorry that like that's literally it kind of has become the defense for Trump that everything the news says is fake, but you have to take the time to actually look at what's being said. You have to take the time to really read what they're talking into. And almost every turn they misquote him. They misrepresent what he says. They take it out of context. They make up fake stories. Like that one story that came out not too long ago where they said that he was calling fallen soldiers losers and stuff like that. That was an anonymous source, meaning they don't know who said it. It was anonymous. 2 or 3 anonymous sources claim that. But then you had 20 on the record sources debunking that. Debunking it, meaning you have the New York Times, well, I don't know if it was Atlantic, it was Atlantic that said it, came out and said, oh, President Trump was talking shit about the troops. You know, 3 people who we don't know who they are, they don't know how they came across that information, but somehow the Atlantic got the story before everybody else. And then you have 20 on the record people who were verified there at the supposed incident or place where he had said that debunk it. And even a few of those people were people that don't even like Trump. They don't even like Trump. But, you know, they had enough, I guess, integrity to call bullshit when they saw it. And they were like, yeah, I don't like President Trump, but I've never heard him say anything bad about the military, ever. He's literally done the complete opposite. He always praises them. I'm a veteran myself. You think I would be supporting someone that doesn't like the military? Joe Biden straight up told a whole platoon of Army soldiers, stupid bastards, because they didn't clap for him. Not only is that rude, and even if that was supposed to be a joke, it wasn't fucking funny. Even after they clapped, he had the nerve to say, man, this group is slow, or something like that. There's that clip is circulating. I'm not making that up. You find out when you look into a lot of this stuff, almost everything that Donald Trump's opponents are doing, they turn around and blame on him. It's called projecting. Like, they're calling Donald Trump a racist. There's no proof of that. Before he ran for president, he was literally one of the most popular white guy billionaires in the black community ever. He was in a bunch of rap songs. He hung out with a bunch of black celebrities. In his Mar-a-Lago, that resort he has in Florida, he was the first guy in all of that entire city to allow Jews and black people on his campus. No one talk about that. You know, it's like at every step they find a way to twist something he did or something they did and blame it on him. They blamed the Russian collusion on President Trump. They blamed him. They blamed him. If you have been watching anything outside of CNN in the last 2 months, you have known that as far as Russian connections go, Clinton and Biden both have Russian connections. Hunter Biden, which is the son that was brought up during the debate that Trump was screaming at Biden, like, what about your son? What about your son? That payment he received. He didn't make that up. That has come out in the news that Hunter Biden has received payments from Russian oligarchs. The former mayor of Moscow, which is the capital of Russia. I don't know if it's the capital, but it's one of the bigger cities in Russia. The former mayor who has ties to Putin, his wife sent a check for $3.5 million to Hunter Biden. We don't know why. We have no idea why he received that payment, all right? He got a job in Ukraine at a Russian company that was pretty much taking a reserve of plutonium from a Canadian company. So a company here in North America was selling the Russians plutonium, and Hunter Biden was put at the head of that organization, even though he has literally no experience in the energy industry. But yet he was put in charge, and he never showed up to that country. He doesn't know how to speak the language, but yet they put him in a nice, comfy position. This screams bribery. This screams collusion. And it's funny that they have so much of the public convinced that it's Trump with the Russian collusion. They're the ones colluding. They're the ones that have this big old dastardly evil plan to take over the world. They keep calling Donald Trump a dictator, and literally the most dictator thing he does is talk very forcefully. And it's crazy. Like they pick Joe Biden because I guess that nice smile. He got that nice little charming grandpa smile, and they literally let him get away with everything. It's crazy. It's bullshit. It is crazy that so many people have fallen for that. All right. And the reason I want to bring up red pilling is that whole narrative that Trump is this horrible, evil person and that he's a racist. It's like, in order to believe all of that stuff, in order to believe that he's a white supremacist, in order to believe that he's an idiot, in order to believe that he's colluding with Russia, you would also have to believe that everybody that voted for him is either a white supremacist, a racist, or they're stupid, or they're both. And that all his supporters are white guys, supposedly. I am proof that not every single Trump supporter is like that. Matter of fact, I haven't met a single Trump supporter that falls into that category. If anything, I've met more people like that voting for Joe Biden. Joe Biden sided with segregationists in the 70s. He sided, he came out with his own crime bill in the 90s, that the lead author on his crime bill that actually locked up more black people than any other crime bill. All right. He did a eulogy for a former Klans member, and he straight up, Joe Biden, the Clintons, and even though, I don't know about the Obamas in this one, but they all have ties to white supremacists, either the KKK or other groups like that, all right? Joe Biden does, and he's had a history of it. It's on a record, all right? But whenever the media is called out on it, and like a Republican senator or someone tries calling the media out on that, you keep calling Trump racist, but what about Joe Biden? What about him? He sided with segregationists back in the 70s. I want to know, every single time that is brought up, it's no, Joe Biden, he already disavowed all that. That's in the past. Why are you bringing that up? You fucking kidding me? That's literally what you're doing to the president right now. He's disavowed white supremacists a billion fucking times. He's literally done it numerous times. There's a clip going around online where for 5 minutes straight, he has disavowed white supremacists. Why is he having to do that? Why is there so much airtime for him disavowing this group? It's because he tells the media he's not a white supremacist and he disavows them. Media doesn't care. They come back again, ask the same question. Or do you disavow white supremacists? Yes, I disavow white supremacists. They keep asking it again. Repetition. Why? Why is 1, 2, 3, 10, 15 times not enough? It's because they don't care about the truth. They don't care about what he's actually saying. They are trying to get him to slip. They are creating this narrative that he has done such horrible things that the media, the heroes, need to show up and call him out on it. Are you white supremacists? People are wondering why CNN's ratings, MSNBC's, ABC, all their ratings are just plummeting. It's because people are waking up to this bullshit. People are starting to realize they've been lied to. They've been brainwashed. They've been hoodwinked into thinking they're good guys, only to step back and realize, wait a minute. Joe Biden is an actual racist. He's the one going on TV saying that if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. He's the one going on TV accusing a black reporter of taking cocaine. He's the one going on TV and comparing the Hispanic community to the black community and saying the black community isn't as diverse. It's like he said blatantly racist things this year, not 20, 30 years ago, which is where they're trying to hide it up. He ain't racist. That was something that happened way long ago. No, he did this recently. And then they completely ignore it. They completely ignore it. There are video clips. It ain't no hearsay. Ain't no anonymous source. It's on the record. It's on video. It's all over the freaking internet. But they ignore it. Why? Why do they ignore it? Think about it. Why do they ignore it? Why are they ignoring it? Because all their airtime is toward Trump. All of it is toward removing the incumbent president from office. All of their airtime is put toward getting rid of the president. Why? He won the last election. He won the last election. That means most of America wants him. Most of America vote him. Yeah, he lost the popular vote. But there's even, I don't know how much true this is, and I don't want to add to just more fake news, but it's even been said that they were cheating last election, which is why they're so confident that he was going to lose and why they're so shocked that he won. It's because there's all this talk of disenfranchisement this, that voter disenfranchisement on the right, that Republicans are trying to disenfranchise voters, when in reality, it's literally the left. During the last 2018 midterm elections, there's a lot of seats open here in California. California is a really blue state. It's all liberals. All right. Very few Republicans, and the few Republicans that are here get picked on. It's not fair. It's not funny. It's kind of sickening when you look into just how one-sided politics can get. And during the 2018 midterm elections, when a lot of these representative seats were up for grabs, there were several Republicans that ran. Several of them won. But over the course of 2, 3, 4 days after the election, where they were counting all those mail-in votes, it flipped to the Democrats, and the Democrats stepped in and took those seats back. Did you know that? Did you have any idea that happened? I bet you didn't. You want to know why? Because that was a test run for this election. They don't care who you vote for. They don't care what your ideals are, what you want for this country. They have a plan already set to go. Democrats, people on the left, whoever, even if it's not all Democrats, it's the people in charge of that party right now. The Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, everybody in that camp over there, they already have a plan. They've been planning it, all right? For the past 4 years, they've been gaslighting the public. Well, oh my God, look at Trump, look at him over here, what he's doing. Well, behind their back, they're doing something else. The last election, last midterm election, was literally a test run for how they were going to handle another Trump election win. They're not planning on him winning. They have literally came out in public on multiple times stating that they are not going to concede no matter what. Who lost the last election? Hillary Clinton. What is she telling Joe Biden right now? Do not concede under any circumstances. What if Trump wins? Why would he not concede? Why would he not concede? If Joe Biden loses in a landslide, why on God's green earth would he not concede? Because they don't plan on playing fair. They want to win this in the most dirty way possible. They have already for months been claiming election fraud, hyping up this mail-in ballot stuff, and they've been pinning it all on Trump. Oh, he's getting rid of mailboxes. He's rigging the election. Oh, he's not to concede if he loses the election. What? Wait a minute. No, it was Hillary Clinton and everybody on the left telling Joe Biden not to concede, only for the media and turn around like, look, president said he's not going to concede. If you stop and you look, you realize repeatedly everything they blame Trump for is something they are doing. It is a psychological trick. They are brainwashing you. They have brainwashed a big portion of America. They've been brainwashing us for years. This is nothing new. It's just it's not working as well as it used to. There's more and more people standing up and be like, no, this is bullshit. I don't believe you anymore, CNN. I don't believe you anymore, Fox News. When people say the Great Awakening or anything to that term, what they're really saying is people are becoming aware to the fact that their entire freaking past few decades of their life has been completely misrepresented by the media. I could think of stuff going all the way back to early 2000s where they have been gaslighting the public. Like the whole Iraq invasion. Did we ever find those weapons of mass destruction? No, but we still went in there and bombed them anyways. Did we ever find the terrorists? Supposedly we killed Bin Laden, but no pictures, no sort of trial. They captured him, but instead of, taking a picture and showing the whole world, we get no evidence that they actually killed him. And then the team, the SEAL Team 6 team that went in there and killed him, a whole month later, I don't know if a whole lot of people noticed, but I remember, because I was in the Air Force when it happened, I remember hearing about it, and it broke my heart, because the team that went in there and supposedly killed Bin Laden, that entire team was in a helicopter that went down, and the entire team died. All the people that could have disputed or confirmed that Bin Laden killing, they're all dead. There's no one alive that was there that night. Why is no one upset about that? Why is no one asking about it? Well, I'm sure when it was on the news, there was all this other crap going on that they were distracting the whole world with. It's happening right now, all right? There's something else that's been happening over the past year and a half that if it wasn't for the coronavirus, if it wasn't for this election, if it wasn't for all these protests, this would be the story of the century. Jeffrey Epstein. They just came out with a story on his with him and Netflix, and people think they understand the whole story just because of a little Netflix. All right, they're back. Sorry about that. Clip ended. I have to restart another one. Okay, I'm back. All right. The whole thing with Jeffrey Epstein is people think they have the entire story, but I don't know if a whole lot of people remember this, but during the last election, another big story broke news that because of the election cycle got really swept under the rug and no one really paid attention to it. Was Pizzagate. And the media, for all of its intents and purposes, went full blown debunking mode and then used the people accused of it to discredit it, which makes no damn logical sense. Like, if you accuse someone of doing something, then you ask that person to come on TV and defend themselves. And that's not proof they didn't do it. It's just a cover up. But it's the fact that they treated it like it was debunked and then went on to the next thing, and hopefully people would forget it. The media knows that people have a short memory. All right, the media knows that the people have a short-term memory. Okay, because they put out so much information on a daily basis. They put so much news, and it's not even news. A lot of it's just bull crap just put out in the news. There's so much of it that any individual will have a hard time piecing it all together. All right, it literally takes going back through the info, going back through the headlines, going back through all of this stuff, and being like, all right, what did I miss? All right, on this day they said this. 2 weeks later they changed their tune. Wait a minute, what happened in between those 2 weeks? What happened? Like, you have to really, really commit to not falling for whatever they're doing on TV. There seems to be some kind of magic spell that happens to people when a person in a suit in a very formal setting gets on camera and speaks very eloquently. You don't care what they say. You are only looking at what you see and it looks legit and you believe it. You know who's a master of looking legit but just not saying anything of substance? Our former president, President Obama. Now, like, I want to give an example of what I mean by looks a certain way, but there's nothing being said. Was the debate just happened? There's another famous debate that really swayed an election. Was the debate between JFK and Richard Nixon back in the 60s. It was the very first televised live debate. So there's very differing opinion on who won that debate. There was people that watched it on TV. They all were super for JFK. They were convinced that he won the debate because when you compare the two candidates, you had JFK that looked calm, cool, and collected, answered the question. It didn't matter what he said. He looked calm, cool, and collected saying it. And then Richard Nixon, who was sweating profusely. He wasn't used to being on live TV. They offered him TV makeup. He said, "No, get that away from me." He didn't want. He was like, "What the hell's makeup? I don't want that." He didn't. Wasn't used to being on TV. And he just looked nervous on there. And it didn't even seem like he was nervous about the debate per se, but more about being it on TV. He wasn't used to being on TV. He didn't like it. But people that didn't watch that debate and the people that actually just listened to it on the radio, because back then people still listened to the radio a lot, they felt Nixon won. Because the questions that were being asked, there was more substance in Richard Nixon's responses. And JFK just kind of gave euphemisms and dancing around the question answers. Seeing makes a very big difference. All right, he, in a weird kind of way, I don't know if it was intentional, but JFK, what he did is what all Democrats to this day still do, is they present. It's a human thing. People see stuff. It's body language. It's a psychological kind of way of going about it. Is they know people aren't really paying attention to what they're saying. All right, they're in control of the schools, so they know majority of Americans are not as critical, are not as critically intellectual as these politicians are. All right, they're experts at non-answers. They're experts at deflections. They're experts at giving an answer that seems like a good answer, but when you read it on paper, it makes no damn sense. Obama was an expert at this. He was very, you stand up straight, Mr. I'm from Harvard. I'm freaking smart, and I'm gonna talk down you and make it seem like you're the idiot. There's a former Republican senator that after Obama's presidency, when he was asked what was it like, trying to work with Obama on issues, is that he said that, well, Obama didn't really like work with us ever. He really just, we would tell him our side of a story on an issue, and he would listen, but he'd turn around and then re-explain it to the senator and make it almost try to convince the senator that he was an idiot and that he was the actual smart one and you need to listen to him. He said Obama was a big mansplainer. A mansplainer, like he just mansplained everything. And that's a roundabout way of just saying he keeps redefining things, which is something Democrats and the left do a lot. They've redefined what it means to be a racist. Apparently, all you have to do to be a racist nowadays is just disagree with them on something. Oh, he's a racist. He's a white supremacist because he didn't disavow white supremacy, even though he said sure 3 times when asked if he was going to disavow white supremacists. It doesn't matter what's actually said. It's the appearance. It's how it looks, all right? It's the public is being brainwashed. Public doesn't care about substance. I mean, there's a lot of people that are starting to care. And in the age of Trump, more and more people are paying attention to stuff politically. But not everybody. Everybody, there's a lot of people that think they understand politics, but they get all of their info from the mainstream media. And they think that's enough research. They never stop and have a really critical thought of where these news organizations get in their info. What is their incentive, all right? When you look at who owns these news organizations, it's the same CEOs and companies that have problems with Trump. It's people with corporate interests that want a certain narrative to be put in the public. It's a form of mind control. It's a form of mass population control, the media. If you go into communist countries, you go into dictatorships, they have a state media, meaning they have a media that doesn't report the news. They only report propaganda. All right, that's happening now in America, and it wasn't always like that. All right, people tend to confuse, horrible organizations as always have been horrible. No, what really happens is, a news organization starts off as simply that, a news organization. And then certain individuals get promoted to positions of power and they start changing the narrative of how that company's worked. At one point in time, CNN actually did report the news, but no longer. In the era of Trump, they are literally 24/7 anti-Trump propaganda. Everything they cover has one way, shape, or another a dig at the president. And most of it isn't even true. Most of it's taken out of context or misquoted, and they do it repeatedly. When the president, talks about fake news, he's talking about the state media. He's talking about the socialized media in this country that has been forcing lies down the American people's throats for years. For years. They lied to us about the Iraq invasion. They lied to us about 9/11. They lied to us about Benghazi. There's so many instances when you only look at that one instance, you can write it off as a one-off and that, oh, it was weird. I can't believe they twisted the story on that. But no, it's a pattern. They've been doing it. That is literally their job. They are not here to share the news that everybody needs to know. They literally are only there to scare you, to force you in a state of heightened fight or flight so that the logical part of your brain turns off and you're not thinking. You only hear the scary news and, oh my gosh, they came to me with the scary news, and then you expect those same people to provide you with an answer and a solution. It's doesn't make any damn logical sense. It doesn't, all right? And everybody that makes these logical gymnastic maneuvers to justify in their head why they hate Trump. Oh man, he's so unpresidential. What the hell does that even mean, unpresidential? All right, is it to sound smart? Is it to be polite? Is it to be correct and honest? I'm sorry, if it's correct and honest, the last 3 presidents are perfect examples. Last 4 presidents are perfect examples of professional liars. So that's pretty unpresidential, lying to the public through your teeth. Okay, well maybe it's just being polite. Well, why does he have to be polite? I mean, I just explained to you how 24/7 there is several media companies putting out all this fake news about the president, continually asking him if he's a white supremacist, even though he's already answered that question a bajillion times. Wouldn't you get upset at that? Wouldn't you be aggressive toward that? If he were to quit and just always answer their questions, always let them push him into the corner. He would look weak, and he knows that, which is why he doesn't play nice with them, because they don't play nice with him. And I'm not defending his actions. I'm just pointing out you have to look at it from the other side. You have to look at it from the other perspective of why the president would act the way he acts. He's under attack on a daily basis. We have never seen this in the country. There's a lot of people that didn't like Obama, but the news media cycle wasn't a 24-second reel of how bad Obama was. It was, oh my God, President Obama, even though he's been in office for a month, got the Nobel Peace Prize for no fucking reason, all right? He bombed 8 damn countries and he still got a Peace Prize. And now this president, who actually negotiated peace in the Middle East, something a lot of us didn't think would happen ever, especially after 9/11, he did that. He did that, and they don't give him any credit at all. It's insane that this is happening right now. It's insane that so many people are hoodwinked by it. It's crazy because they literally suck the wind out of his sails at every turn, every single time. If Trump got the coverage Obama got, they would be saying Trump is the best president ever. No doubt. They would be saying he's better than Reagan. They'd be saying he's better than Lincoln. They'd be saying he's better than George Washington. You want to know why? And it's not an exaggeration either. It's the fact that this president came in and literally proved decades and decades of foreign policy wrong about how to handle the Middle East, all right? They've been saying for years and years and years that Israel is going to have to give up part of its sovereignty to the Palestinians in order for there to be peace. Donald Trump did the exact opposite, put the capital or the embassy in Jerusalem to officially announce Jerusalem as a capital and to be recognized by the United States as the capital of Jerusalem. Once he did that, was there war? Was there World War III? Was there all this anarchy that the media and all our previous politicians have been telling us would happen if we did that? No, the exact opposite happened. There's peace treaties happening now, all right? He has literally proven decades of experts wrong, and they don't acknowledge it. They completely ignore it. It's fucking insane, all right? Before COVID-19, before we all got thrown in our houses and told to wear a mask and don't enter and socialize with our family, friends, and to treat this as a new normal, before this crazy year started, our economy was doing great. And I'm not going to defend it. I understand the debt was still there. I understand that, the economy being great, that's only in reference to how it was before. And honestly, a lot of leaps and bounds can still happen in order to make it a really, really great economy. But if COVID-19 never happened, if these protests, if 2020 hadn't happened yet, and Trump was given no resistance in order to keep the economy chugging along, and he got 8 straight years to do what he was doing, who knows where we would be? We would be, he keeps talking about the greatest economy ever. I personally feel like that's kind of an exaggeration, all right? And I'm not against criticizing things the president says, all right? See, that's the difference between logical thinking people, is that I don't worship Donald Trump. That's not what this is about. I don't crazy, oh my God, he's the greatest president. I'm just regurgitating what people are saying, okay? Because they've actually looked at what he's done and then they've said, wow, he's actually accomplished a lot of things. He's actually backed up what he said. The biggest, I don't know, my biggest complaint for the longest time was the whole wall thing, all right? Because when it first came out that he wanted a wall, they made it into a big, he's racist against Mexican people. I'm Mexican, or at least I'm a descendant of Mexicans. I'm really American, all right? And that's another subject of how we're going to refer to ourselves. I'm an American, all right? But if I had to throw a label on it, I'm Mexican American. So that whole speak of wall building and calling immigrants rapists and monsters and stuff like that, all of that stuff, when I first heard it, I'm like, this guy's kind of a dick. I didn't hate him for it, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to vote for him. In 2016 when all this was going on, I didn't want to vote for him. But I felt like he probably would be president just because what he's saying seems to be clicking with people, and I don't get why it's clicking with him. Well, I get now why it's clicking with him, because he didn't call Mexican immigrants rapists and monsters. He didn't say that. He was talking about gang members in Southern California. Gang members that have been raping, killing, and trafficking women and children. He was calling them animals because they really are animals. And it's so fucked up that the media took something that he was criticizing human trafficking. He was criticizing the illegal activities in this country. And they turn around and say, look, he's a racist. He's calling Mexican immigrants rapists and monsters. That is sick. That is downright dirty. They've been doing this sick, twisted stuff for 4 years. Remember when he was going to North Korea? Remember they said he was going to start a world war and North Korea was going to bomb us and all that? What happened? What happened? He went over there and actually fixed the problem. North Korea, we haven't heard any more earthquakes coming away from over there. They stopped their nuclear testing. Whatever Trump did, whatever he said, he got them and put them in line. That is huge, all right? Because China wasn't going to do it. China didn't care. China just kind of was like, North Korea's their own thing. We don't really have any rule over them. And America went in there. President went in there. President Trump went in there. Has North Korea been giving us any issues since then? No. Whole thing with Iran. I'm just going to keep going by every single thing that they've been blaming him for that was either completely false or completely wrong. All right, the Iran deal. All right, under Obama and Biden, they were touting that deal as something great. That we're going to make sure they don't develop nukes. By paying them off, all right, by paying them off, saying, hey, don't make any nukes. Here's $100 billion. Don't make any. You know, they could easily use that money to make an underground bunker and continue their tests anyway. So there's no guarantee that they would honor that deal. But the moment you give them the money, you can't take it back. Like, Donald Trump went in there, saw that deal, and he's like, what the hell is this? This is horrible. All right, nope, pulling out. And I know it looked dramatic, and people were scared that Iran was going to give us issues. And especially after he bombed that one guy in January, I forgot his name, all right, that Iranian commander. And it's funny how after that happened, they, once again, oh my God, World War III, they thought shit was going to hit the fan. And then Iran accidentally shot down one of their own planes full of their own citizens in their own country. And yeah, I haven't had any problems with Iran since there either. So it's like at every step of the way, President Trump has done what he said he was going to do. And even with the wall, like I just mentioned it, you know, the wall isn't about immigration. It has nothing to do with immigration. It has to do with everything, with smuggling illegal things into the country, with illegal activity. The wall has everything to do with illegal activity. Trump is not against immigration, all right? They always try to flip it and be like, oh, Trump doesn't like immigrants. Oh, Trump doesn't like people coming over here in our country. He's an isolationist. He doesn't want people coming over. That's not what it is. He wants them to come over. He just wants them to do it the right damn way, all right? Where I live now in Northern California, there's a huge Filipino population here, all right? I have a lot of Filipino friends, all right? Do you think Filipinos can just walk over here illegally? No, they have to come here legally, all right? They can't swim that damn far, all right? They gotta take a plane. They gotta do all this paperwork. They gotta do all of the right stuff in order to get in this country. And all the people I've talked to that were born in the Philippines and came over here and now American citizens, it wasn't an easy journey, but it was worth it, and they did it right. And they want every other immigrant to also follow the same damn rules. So it's not that we're being unfair to immigrants by building a wall. We're being unfair to only immigrants if we don't build that wall. Because if you're going to let anybody walk in, why the hell did the Filipino people and all these Indian and all these other people from other continents coming here and immigrating, why is it they have to follow all the damn rules and all these people walking over the border don't? That's unfair, all right? But they don't tell it to you like that. They literally make that wall seem like a racist statement. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with stopping illegal activity. With all the drugs being smuggled in here, all the guns. Also, the biggest one out of all of them, the trafficking they're really trying to stop, is human trafficking. All right? They completely ignore that in the media. They completely ignore that fact. Why? Why do they not talk about it? They just tell you that Trump's racist. He's building a wall to keep Mexican people out, and this dude's an asshole. Well, he did say that he was going to make Mexico pay for it, and I thought he probably should never have promised that. But as the wall is being built and it's putting up and, you know, people are still coming through the border, They're putting a toll on that border wall, just like they do with bridges. All right. How do bridges get paid for? You put a toll on it so it gets paid for. Trump just did the same thing with the bridge. I mean, with the wall. No government entity is going to walk over and hand us millions of dollars for it. But in the truest capitalistic sense of the word, Trump made it happen in a very capitalistic way. Instead of using a socialistic approach and forcing another government to give the money over, he came up with a very simple solution. Just charge them a toll. As they come across the border, and all the Mexican immigrants coming over here legally, they're having to pay a small toll to get through. And you know what's funny? That wall's going to get paid for on its own. It's going to get paid for its own. It's not coming out of American taxpayer dollars. It's coming out of Mexican immigrants, i.e. Mexico is paying for it. You see, all y'all are brainwashed. You don't use your damn head. You just believe whatever's being told to you. And it's frustrating watching it, because it's like, it's not even that there's being disagreements happening right now, that there's like arguments being made. That's Americans always going to argue. Okay, that's kind of the beauty of free speech, is we are allowed to argue. Okay, but now we're at a time where you go on TV and people defending the president are continually interrupted. Even during that debate that just happened the other night, people keep blaming the president for making it unwatchable, and he kept interrupting. Go back, watch it from the beginning. You get the transcript out, all right? At the very beginning of the debate, President Trump got to talk first, answer a question. He got 2 minutes uninterrupted. Then it flipped. Chris Wallace gave it to Joe Biden. He also got 2 minutes uninterrupted. When it went back to Trump, when Trump went to answer that second question, Joe Biden started interrupting. Chris Wallace didn't say anything. And also, Donald Trump didn't get all flustered and be like, oh, he's interrupting me. All right? He rolled with it. He answered. He went back and forth. It's an open discussion, meaning they're allowed to interrupt each other. That's what an open discussion means, that you can go back and forth. All right? Yeah, Donald Trump is forceful, and any open discussion with that man, you got to be ready to go back and forth with him. All right? All that was to show that Joe Biden can't go back and forth, because Joe Biden isn't there. He's not. All right? He's slow. Every answer he gave was a pre-planned answer, because every question he got from Chris Wallace was a pre-planned question. He knew the questions, he knew the answers, and when Donald Trump kept interjecting, what he was really doing is not just being rude, he was trying to throw Joe Biden off to show the whole world that Joe Biden isn't answering these off the top of his head. He's remembering a script, and he kept interjecting to throw his rhythm off. All right? If you go back and watch it, every single time Joe Biden interrupts President Trump, I think Chris Wallace called him out on it once. Just once, and it was real quick, but the rest of the debate, he let Joe Biden interrupt whenever he wanted. All right? But after that initial exchange, when Chris Wallace started telling him to calm down, he literally went into full defense mode and only interrupted the president, all right? Joe Biden gave a non-answer to the Supreme Court question, didn't answer it at all, gave a pre-planned, oh, I'm not going to answer that question on that issue, and the issue is people who speak need to vote. They're pointing at the camera. Like, that's the brainwashing. That's the trick. That's him like waving his finger to sound convincing. If you turned off the audio and just saw him go like that, that looks like it's a power posture. It's a whatever I'm saying, no matter what I'm saying, just listen to it. All right. See how that feels when I start doing that and I start giving you that finger. That's people podcasts. I'm pointing my finger at the camera. It's a very makes you feel different, doesn't it? It's a psychological trick, all right? Which is why the president he got his own power postures. He doesn't point his finger at people, but he does this a lot because it's a power posture. It's body language, all right? It's like he completely shielded Biden the same way they've been doing it in the media, all right? Joe Biden is creepy. There's a reason why he's Creepy Joe or Sleepy Joe or whatever like that. It's because there are numerous accounts of this guy touching women inappropriately, sniffing kids inappropriately. There's a whole damn freaking reel of Joe Biden doing the most inappropriate things in public. Gets a pass. Don't talk about it. Why? I think you see the freaking theme I'm getting here, right? All right, that we living in the Matrix and that we're brainwashed and that we really don't know what's going on. It's the fact that there is real evidence to prove that Joe Biden is the racist one, Donald Trump. There's proof. There's proof that Donald Trump is not racist, and there is proof that Joe Biden is. But that's not what the media is saying. They're saying the complete opposite because they're brainwashing you. Two, that the coronavirus and all the lockdowns, it's all Donald Trump's fault. Also a lie, all right? It keeps getting brought up that they keep blaming, like this just happened the other day. There was an interview between Chris Cuomo of CNN, the younger brother of Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, so a news anchor who is tied to a Democratic leader, by the way, so a little bit of bias there, talking to Ted Cruz, the Republican senator from Texas who, ran against President Trump in 2016 and has been quiet and in the background, but he will speak up when he doesn't like something the Democrats are doing. He doesn't always jump up to the defense of Donald Trump because, like Chris Cuomo said, Donald Trump freaking used to talk shit to Ted Cruz, call him Lying Ted, all right? Chris Cuomo brought that back up. That's 4 years ago, and Chris Cuomo had to find something to try to throw Ted Cruz off because it's not a real interview. It was a sham interview, and it was trying to get Ted Cruz to criticize the president. It's a hit piece. It's a hit piece, all right? But Ted Cruz just straight up said, Donald Trump broke CNN. You guys aren't real news anymore, all right? You guys are coming out and accusing the president of doing something you're doing. You guys take the deaths of people and blame it on your political opponents. That is so freaking on the point. Democrats and people on the left blame the deaths of their citizens and their care on their political opponents. What is the job of a governor? What is the job of a mayor? What is their job? A mayor is responsible for the city they're in charge of. The governor is responsible for the people in their state. So why is it these mayors in Portland, Chicago, San Francisco, and these governors of California, Oregon, New York, they are responsible for their own citizens, but whenever the conversation of coronavirus is brought up, they turn around and blame it on the president. How is that his fault? No, stop, really. How is that his fault? He's responsible for the country, but the states, the cities, the counties, there is a reason there are governors and mayors and county officials. It's because they are responsible for the smaller. He did his job and prevented travel from foreign countries, which he got criticized for. And he did it early before the infection got big. They're projecting 2 million people were going to die from this. And only 200,000 up until this point, months later, has it actually happened. So instead of congratulating, all right, sorry about that. Some technical difficulties. Kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, okay, so the general theme I'm trying to present to you guys is that there is about half the country right now believing this fake news, believing this propaganda, being completely brainwashed, all right? And that's the part that's most scary. It's not that we're being lied to. It's the fact that there's so many people believing the lie, all right? It's been pointed out in documentaries and people that just survived it, but people that lived in the Soviet Union during its heyday, those Russian civilians knew they were being lied to. They knew it. They had a word for the media, that state media, all right? It was a Russian word. I can't repeat it, but it wasn't a nice word. And there was a saying in Russia during the Cold War that the Russian citizens, they know the future. It's their past that keeps changing. Stalin having a picture with a buddy, and then 2 seconds later it's erased, and he's hugging the air, shit like that. And it's state control of history, state control of the narrative. It's not new. It's been happening forever. And that this red pill moment that's about to happen pretty soon with what's going on with this election, the red pill moment for Americans is when it becomes blatantly obvious that we have been lied to for decades, all right? And I'll focus primarily on the election, but there's so many subjects that we've been completely lied to about. Our ancient history, the medical field, real physics and science, that's all been misled. It's all been tampered with. It's all been polluted with pseudoscience and pseudo-archaeology and pseudo-medical advice. All right, I don't got enough time in this video to get into that, but it's probably going to be my next video. Just other examples outside of the news cycle where it just shows that everything is censored. All right, this video right now, if I were to put it on YouTube and it started, going viral, it would be pulled down, guaranteed. And that's a big problem, and I think that's something a lot of Americans don't like and are pushing against. So I'm gonna leave it there. This is my first uh, recorded podcast, so I'm gonna see how this one turns out and whether or not YouTube bans me when I post it, but we'll see. So y'all have a good day and see you later.